going to be coloring our Homeschool Success Plan. Before we get started, if you are new and you have no idea what we're doing, there is a link in the descriptions which will help you find your copy of the Color With Me Success Plan. You can print it on regular paper, 8.5 by 11, and you can pause the video to do that right now. Or like me, you can go and get a larger copy made at your local print shop. So pause your video and get your copy so we can get ready. Perfect. So I'm going to assume that you have your coloring sheet. And before we get started, I want you to know that there are 3 major goals inside of this video. Number 1, we're going to walk through what I call the Homeschool Success Plan. We're going to color it as we go because it will help us slow down and really dive into each one of these things. It's powerful. Number 2, this is a restful activity. It's going to take about a half an hour to 40 minutes total. And by the time you're done, you're going to have a complete colored page. Let me show you my original. You're going to have a complete colored page, which you can either put at the beginning of your lesson planner, or if it's large like this, you'll be able to hang it on your wall inside your homeschool area. And then the last thing that we're going to do is I have some hand-me-down laptops that I am going to be pulling a winner for, and I'm going to gift, today is the day that I'm going to gift the first laptop. So I have 3, and inside my Homeschooling with Secret Sauce group, not only do I give all kinds of magical resources and just amazing goodness, but I'm also going to give some laptops away. So these are my children's old laptops. This is the first one that we're going to be giving away today. So stay tuned. We will do that at the end. Okay, so let's get started. Let me get set up here so I can make sure you can see everything. So we're going to go in. I have my markers. You can color with anything that you have available to you. I'm going to cherry pick just some of my favorite colors. The colors themselves don't matter as much as some variety. So I'm going to definitely pick the rainbow colors. So let's start with some red. So red, that's not really red. Let me get a red. I have fallen in love with coloring and thinking. Red, orange. I like a bright orange, so I'm going to do red, orange, yellow, Roy, G, Bib. I need a dark indigo color and a nice purple. And I have my pink, and I may or may not need a black. So first of all, get any colors that you want. The colors themselves don't matter. I absolutely love meditative coloring. And when I created this poster at the very beginning, I had intended that this would just be a backdrop for a video series that I'm going to be doing, which my original is. But as I finished it, there is so much goodness hiding in here that I didn't even see as I was creating it. So grab any color that you'd like, and we're just going to start by talking about the fact that this is your Homeschool Success Plan. Now, the reason that we are coloring is that we need to slow our brains down, because as homeschool moms, we're doing it all. We are cooking, we are cleaning, we are driving, we are reading, writing, weeding, gardening, visiting with the neighbors next door, and all of the things. And when you add the pressure of making sure that our kids are academically sound by the time they graduate high school, it can really drive us bonkers. And what I have found is that coloring slows my brain down just enough that I can actually lean into what it is that I want to really, what the goals are, what's the purpose behind all of this. Now I'm going to tell you right away This is going to be a relatively quick coloring video, and you can color this as quickly or slowly as you want. And I need you to understand that success with homeschooling will vary based on who you talk to. Let me put a piece of paper underneath here. You want to protect your surfaces, Mama. You don't want to ruin your surfaces. Let me put this underneath there. Okay, so success looks different in everybody's home, right? But there are some benchmarks that we will all agree that will add up to success at the end of the day. Mama, by the time your kids graduate high school, what is it that you really want them to know? What is it that you want them to have learned? I'm going to just keep coloring this part right here while I share this little story. When I was a brand new homeschool mom, I was one day just crying at the kitchen table, and my husband came in the room because he was working from home, and he's like, Bekki, what's going on? I'm like, I just can't do it. I was surrounded by all of the curriculum. I had 3 or 4 school-age kids at the time. If you don't know, I have 5 sons, but we started our homeschool journey when our oldest was in kindergarten, sort of, but we were fully homeschooled or homeschoolers by the time he was in 5th grade. And so I was panicking that I couldn't do it. And my husband said, Bekki, it's not about the curriculum. What do you want our kids to know by the time they graduate high school? And I thought, well, that's a really good question. And I don't know the answer to that really good question. So he and I spent a couple days and we came up with our master homeschool goals. And honestly, they have been the guiding force behind everything that we have done in homeschool since then. So a lot of this is going to go over those basic homeschool goals. I'm going to encourage you that if you haven't done that in your journey yet, if you don't know what the 4 or 6 things that you want your kids to know by the time they graduate, then that is a really, really good starting place. Okay, are you ready? In your Homeschool Success Plan, I want you to understand that one of the most powerful things that you can do is to read aloud to your kids. Now, this is not necessarily what is recommended in your homeschool curriculum or what your neighbor or your best friend recommends. This is just simply reading aloud with your kids. Now, I used a funny number here. I said read aloud 12.7 times longer than you think you should. Now, that's not an exact number, obviously. What I mean is that whatever you think you should be reading aloud, whatever amount of time, you're going to want to increase that exponentially. There is absolutely nothing that is more powerful than reading to your kids. And we're going to get more into that in a minute. But you can absorb vocabulary and history and science and all the things just by simply reading stories together. It's so powerful. And at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter what you read. You could read comic books, you could read cookbooks, you could read picture books. Oh my goodness, your kids are never too old to read picture books. As a matter of fact, my kids know to not stand next to me in a bookstore because I will absolutely pick up the nearest read aloud, the nearest picture book, and I will just start reading it in the store, much to the horror of my teenage boys. I think the last time I embarrassed them in public was reading The Pout Pout Fish. Oh, my 17-year-old almost had a heart attack, but it became a life lesson about not spreading the dreary wearies all over the place. Reading is powerful. Reading helps your children be marinated in language, vocabulary, and ideas, and it should absolutely be on the top of your list of things. If you do nothing else in your homeschool day except read aloud, your kids will catapult so much farther ahead. Okay, so you're going to be reading. At the end of your homeschool career, if you have read aloud every day and you've shared all kinds of books and stories and experiences from those stories with your kids, you're definitely following your success plan. Another thing that I want you to focus on, or that we all need to focus on, is that we need to practice and train life skills. These are the things we want to make sure that our kids are going to thrive in life. Do they know at least a half a dozen meals that they can plan, shop for, prep, and cook all on their own? Oh, they might only be 5 or 6 right now, but these goals, this success plan is built that by the time they graduate high school, they will know the things that they need to know to thrive. So some of those things have to do with, oh, let's pick a color. I like this blue right now. So we want to deal with cleanliness, and that could be their own personal hygiene. That could be cleaning around the house or in the yard. We want to make sure that they have manners that rock, because manners and etiquette help our kids stick out in public in the right way. Opening doors for elderly people or for anyone in general. Saying please and thank you, being kind and considerate. Manners matter. So make sure that we focus on manners. Make sure that we give our kids areas that they are responsible for and the opportunity to practice being responsible, whether it is chores around the house or helping and being in charge of a pet. We want to make sure that they graduate understanding how to manage their money, how to understand which things in life are better deals, how to set a budget and how to stick to it, how to plan for retirement starting when they're young. This is a huge life lesson. We don't want to send our kids out into the world not knowing how to balance their checking account, so that they have enough money for the entire month and that they are storing money away for the future. We want to make sure that our kids know how to manage their household. Paying their bills is one thing, but also things like spring cleaning, setting aside money and time to maintain their equipment, and of course, all the basic things. We want our kids to cook. We want them to clean. This is a healthy thing. We also need to help make sure that they have coping skills. Life is not easy and it's certainly not fair. And so our kids need safe opportunities to fail, which is a first attempt at learning. And they need to learn to fail forward and understand that it's okay to not be perfect. And then fill in the blank. In our house, we want our kids to know things like how to swim. And then based on your family dynamics and where you live and how you grew up, you're going to have other life skills that you want your kids to know. So that's the core of getting you started. So if you think about this, by the time your kids graduate high school, you've read to them every day and you've been training in life skills. Now this section right here is talking about the academics. When you think about homeschooling, or when I talk to new homeschoolers, this is the part that new homeschoolers, they really drive themselves crazy over this. Academics, we think that our kids need to know a certain set of facts and figures by the time they graduate high school. But I'm going to encourage you to understand that we live in a technological age where information is available at our fingertips. One of my kids and I were at the pharmacy the other day picking up a prescription, and we were discussing an abbreviation for the units of measure for something. And I was saying the full name incorrectly. And so he borrowed my phone to find out what the initials stood for. And that's the world that we live in. If you don't know, you can Google it. So you need to understand that over time, we want our kids to master the basics of academics, because they're going to be able to look up and find the details of different things that they need. So what are these basics of academics? Well, of course, our kids need to read. And they need to read because reading unlocks a world of wonder and discovery, right? We need our kids to be able to write. And writing is not just essays. Writing is making to-do lists and brainstorming, condensing information into visual graphics or graphic organizers. It's resumes, it's cards and stories and research papers and poems and text messages, writing. So the basics of writing. We want to make sure that they're using decent grammar, proper grammar, by the time they graduate high school. Never lose sight that the goal is by the time they graduate high school. Our kids should know their basic arithmetic: adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, measurements, fractions, decimals, percentages, the basics. Everything that we do in life is based on those, not everything, but most of the things that we do in life requires basic arithmetic. Now, some of your kids, I have one of my kids has a mathematician brain, and out of my 5 sons, only one of them is a mathematician. And he went on to do all of the higher maths, and he absolutely loves it. But the other 4, not so much. They just need enough math to manage their money and manage their life. And anything that they need to find beyond that, they will get a tutor or hire someone to help them. That's truly just the way that it is. We need to know basics of history, because if you don't know history, you're destined to repeat it. And we want to learn from those in the past. We need to understand science, but not from the standpoint of understanding any particular science lesson. What we really want our kids to glean from science is the scientific method of thinking, observing, asking questions, forming a hypothesis, testing whether or not something is true or not true, and then gathering that data in a way that they can share it with others or encourage others to repeat their experiments. This whole idea of science is all just the magic of curiosity. So again, this is over time mastering the basics of academics. We also want our kids to have handwriting that other people can read. And I strongly suggest that if your kids struggle with handwriting, that you allow them to find some kind of a font, some kind of a writing that is legible, and let them stick to it. But know that most writing for our children from this point on is going to be digital. It's going to be text messages, emails, online websites, social media, that kind of stuff. So gone are the days where people have perfect cursive and they write correspondence back and forth through the mail. However, it's important that when your kids pick up a pen or a pencil, that other people, and that they can read their own handwriting. So again, basics of academics. We want to expose our kids to different kinds of music. We want to expose our kids to different kinds of art. I'm sitting upstairs above my youngest son right now, and he is taking a painting class, and they're being exposed to different forms of painting. And currently right now he is trying to, they have to copy a master. And so the painting that he has chosen is a Thomas Kincaid painting of a cottage in the woods, and it's gorgeous. And he's really struggling trying to capture the essence of that painting. But we were talking about it last night, and that is that it is so valuable for him to look at different kinds of art and different styles of art and technique, and to glean from that. And he will walk away with a richer life having studied and looked at different styles of art. So art comes in so many different formats, and we really want to make sure that we expose our kids to those and don't let them box themselves into this tiny little space. Our kids should be exposed to dance, and through all of these things, reading, writing, arithmetic, music, dance, science, they're developing their motor skills. We want our kids to have fine motor skills so that they can do intricate things, but also great gross motor skills so that when they run across the field, they're not necessarily tripping over themselves. So these are the basics of the core of what we want our kids to know. By the time they graduate high school, they need they need to have a solid foundation in the basics of academics. They need to have a solid set of life skills that they've practiced and perfected. And they need to be having been marinated in beautiful literature over the course of many years. The little bits of reading, 10 minutes here, 30 minutes there, really add up over time. And then the magic of homeschooling is that we get the opportunity to not duplicate a classroom. So when you're looking at the things that you're going to be teaching your children, try whenever you can to mix subjects together. So if you are going to be studying Thomas Kincaid and painting, are there any other subjects that you can overlay on there so that you are hitting more than one thing at a time? Yes, it's ticking away at motor skills. Yes, it's also improving handwriting, but it also has science and history wrapped in there, and there's so many things written about that artist. But that is just one example. Whenever you are studying anything, see if you can in any way double up on any of the other subjects. Because what happens is that your child leans into that subject and is able to touch them from many different positions. For instance, if you are going to be studying something in history, whatever it is, you want to think of that subject and think, are there any art projects that we can do that can help bring that to life? Is there anything that we can read beyond the textbook? There are beautiful picture books out there for almost any event in history. Is there something that we can cook and something that we can eat? Are there any kinds of science projects that we can do with that period in history? But you can also then but you can practice things like handwriting by pulling, I'm just going to put handwriting, by pulling a piece of writing from something that you've read or something that you've watched online, and you can use that as copy work for them to practice their handwriting. And suddenly, this is not just a read and take a quiz lesson, but it's an immersion opportunity, and your kids will remember something that they've touched from many different arenas or disciplines. So always, whenever possible, mix subjects and combine in as many combinations as possible. You want to get more and more creative as your kids grow, because education doesn't have to be boring. There's so many ways that you can make something more interesting. For instance, when you're doing math, you don't have to simply do the next page in the math book. You can take dry erase markers and you can do the arithmetic right on the window in the living room, or with sidewalk chalk as you on the driveway. You can do history by incorporating that with the reading that you're doing, and you can do motor skills. Put your kids on a bicycle, a tricycle, and have them create a path that they can ride, and then you create a stop sign of some sort. And the kids will drive around on their bicycle, and they will stop where you are, and you can read aloud the next paragraph or two while the kids catch their breath. And now you are not only doing history, but you're doing reading and motor skills simultaneously. Once you lean into this and you really embrace the art of mixing and matching subjects and combining the basics, something magical happens, and learning no longer becomes a chore. It is this amazing, amazing adventure. And your kids' imaginations become ignited, and you are able to embrace the love of learning with your kids. You will find that it is just so much more enjoyable. Okay, so that's the basics, and I want you to take inventory of how you're feeling right at this moment. These are the stressors of homeschooling. We really, really waste so much of our time overthinking the academics. Now, don't get me wrong, they're super important, but this is not where the magic of homeschooling your kids is. We're getting ready to get into the magic of homeschooling right here. The core of homeschooling can be found by reading, exploring. I'm going to come back and fill that in a second. Read, explore, rest with your kids each and every day. Our world is so busy, and there can be so much pressure on our kids to perform, especially if you are surrounded by people that don't understand the power of homeschooling your children. We need to be an example of what it means to rest. Mama, that piece of furniture in your living room is called a sofa, and it is invented for us to sit on and relax. Now, I personally struggle with this one. This rest, my brain doesn't know what that word means. I am always on the go. But the magic of homeschooling is found in being able to rest, because on the other side of resting, there's magic for our kids. We want to be people that are ready to explore. Now, this does not mean get in your car and go on grand adventures per se, but having an explorer mind, being open and curious, having a teachable mind. Our kids need to see us exploring. If we don't know something, they need to watch us dig in deep and find the answers. Your kids and my kids, they watch us, and they're looking to see what it means to learn. And are we modeling that it is and can be fun? Our kids need to see us excited and exploring. This magic word, read, is here a few times on this poster because reading really is secret sauce. We want our kids to be readers. So guess what that means? Every single day, I'm going to repeat that. Every single day, our kids need to see us pick up a book of our own. Of course, it can be a read aloud with our children as they're little. We do a lot of reading aloud with our kids. But they also need to see us pick up actual books, not just scrolling through our phones, but picking up books and reading, because they're going to duplicate what we do. So if we are readers, they're going to be readers as well, or they're going to have a better chance of being readers as well. And we need to be excited about what we're reading and really, really unable to hold it back. When we read something that's awesome, we need to say, oh, listen to this. This is the coolest thing I've read this week. And then share it with our kids so that they can catch the joy of learning. This leaning into homeschooling is so important. Our kids need to see us read, explore, and rest every single day. They need to see that it's okay. If your schedule is so busy that if you break out your pen to try and put another event on your calendar and it suddenly bursts into flames, then you're too busy. Your kids are going to be stressed out. You're going to be stressed out. You're not going to be able to really thrive by having a house that is running smoothly and healthy meals that are on the table every day. You're going to be stressed. You're going to be cutting corners. And usually the thing that suffers the most is our relationships. And quite honestly, they're the wrong relationships that suffer. The relationships with our spouses, or with our kids, or with our friends. You know, these are not shortcuts that we can take and then have everything turn out okay. We really need to lean into this, having an explorer mind, reading and resting. Mama, it is so important. So as we're starting to get to the bottom of this poster, I want you to pay attention to what's happening in your heart. This is where the stress lies. When is my kid going to learn to read? When are they going to learn to hold their pencil and write like a human being? When are they going to be able to spell and craft sentences and paragraphs with perfect grammar? Do I really need to teach that math? You know how this feels. This is like the grinding stone of homeschooling. But this is where the magic of homeschooling lies. And I want you to lean into this. If you really want to be successful in homeschooling, not only do you read, explore, and rest every day, but lead with curiosity. Your kids are going to catch your curiosity. If you're excited and you're like, why on earth does it happen that way? And then you dig in and you're like, oh, that's why it works that way. Did you see? Let's look into that more. Let's see if we can find more on whatever that is. Lead with curiosity, but also find ways to put those activities into your kids' hands. One time we were studying, what was it? Vikings, and my kids' eyes started to glaze over because I was just reading the story. And so I sent them outside to play, and I said, come back in a minute. I'm gonna have something fun for us. And I found how to build a Viking ship craft. And all of my kids sat down and we created a Viking ship. And while the kids were building and following directions, we were listening to videos and we were doing read alouds. And when we walked away, the kids had learned so much more than listening to a quiet read aloud. So whenever you can, lead with curiosity and hands-on fun. Now, this takes time, and it takes the initiative to look ahead, but sometimes it means that you just need to hide what you're doing. Don't be afraid to look around and to see that things aren't working the way that you want them to be working. Send your kids outside to play safely. Send them outside to play. Hide the curriculum and either join your kids playing or start looking for alternative things that you can do that will teach them whatever that is. Don't be afraid to ditch curriculum that's not working. But it costs so much money. It's okay. If it's not working, it's not only a waste of money, it's a waste of time. And sometimes all you need is a break. Sometimes all you need is a break. Need to make sure you can see the bottom of this poster. Okay? So don't be afraid to hide what's not working. It's okay. I don't know how many times I have bought the perfect curriculum only to hide it halfway through the school year. If it doesn't work, ditch it. That's just ditch it. It's just not worth it. Okay, so we're leaning into the secret sauce now. We're not putting anything in front of ourselves or our children that's not working. Oh, sometimes you have to persevere, and grit is something that we want our kids to walk away with at the end of their homeschool journey. But sometimes you get something and it just is not a good mesh. Put it away. You can pull it out a few months down the road, and sometimes that's all it needs. Is sometimes it just needs a timeout, and then you can come back to it later. So besides reading, exploring, resting, leading with curiosity, you're going to see that a lot of the secret to homeschooling is you. Regularly, often, once a week, once a month, once every other month, you, mama, learn new things. And here's a word that you might not know this word. I know it's not even a foreign language, but you need to play. You splash in the puddles, throw water balloons, build Legos, have a tea party, build something out of a big cardboard box, play with your kids. Okay, we want our kids to enjoy their life. But if we always have a scowl on our face, and if we're always worried about the next thing, that's what they're going to glean. That's what they're going to learn. They're going to learn that life is hard and it's not fun. And very, very early in life, they're going to stop playing. They're going to stop being curious, and they're going to stop resting and enjoying life. That's not what we want. We want our kids to love learning. So you, mama, me, regularly learn new things. So what's the last thing that you've learned how to do? For me, I'm learning on how to doodle and to capture ideas in color in a way that I can explain things to my children, myself, and to you online. This is a new skill. This is not something that I've known how to do forever, but it is something that I'm leaning into. So what is something that you're leaning into? And if you don't have something, pause and look around. What is it that you find interesting? Maybe it's making some amazing gourmet dish, or growing something in your garden, or raising chickens or iguanas, or how to shoot baskets in a basketball hoop. Find something that you can dive into and let your kids see you learning. So we're getting down. Take a deep breath and exhale. Take another deep breath. Exhale. This right here will be this is the core. Mama, if I could get you to pay attention and to lean in a little bit closer. Never, and never means never ever. Never ever pass opportunities to discuss matters of the heart. Oh my goodness. Math is not more important than something that's stressing your child out. Writing is not more important than the fact that your child just rolled their eyes and obnoxiously said no, they don't want to do it. History is not more important than the fact that your kids are fighting over ridiculous things. Whatever is going on, never pass up the opportunity to dive in to the matters of the heart or to train up character. At the end of the day, your kids are going to learn how to read. They really are. I promise you that by the time they graduate high school, they're going to know how to read. I don't want pink. I want some kind of blue. Let me find a new blue. They're going to know how to read. They're going to know how to write. Oh, they may not be poets, or they may not compose amazing screenplays or anything. But they're going to know how to write. They're even going to know how to add and subtract, or they will have found the tools to help them add and subtract. They'll find things like spell check and calculators and those websites that automatically can help you do things like algebra. But if you don't concentrate on the heart, it doesn't matter how smart they are. It doesn't matter how accomplished they are. If they're snotty, obnoxious people, it's not going to work. It's not going to work for them. It's not going to work in life. They're not going to be employable. They're not going to have healthy relationships. You want your kids to have excellent character, to be loving and kind. And you want them to have hope. You want them to have determination. You want them to be responsible and diligent. And the only way that that happens is to lean in and to train them. Now, not disciplining as in punishment, but training. Discipline means to train up your children. And the way that you train up things like character is you study your kids. What is it that they're thriving with right now? That's probably a pretty long list. But what is it that they're failing at right now, or that they need to work on? Is it coming when you call them from the other room? Oh, that sounds silly. But if you're getting ready to run out the door and you say, kids, I need you to come, and nobody comes, that's a problem, because you don't want to be late. You want to honor the people that you're going to meet. And so you set up a training session. One time, one of my kids was getting ready to have a major surgery, and we were on one of those meal lists where people would bring us dinner. It was a love gift where for a couple weeks, people brought us meals so that we could focus on our son as he was having surgery and recovering. We didn't really have time to think about what it is that we wanted to make for dinner. And if we had time, we didn't have the mental energy. And so we were on this meal train where people would bring us meals. It was child number 2 that was having surgery. And I very vividly remember somebody lovingly bringing us food. And one of the younger boys asked, "What's for dinner?" with this person in our kitchen with this meal. And they told us, I can't even remember what it was. And my younger kids lovingly went, "Yuck, I hate that." And then they ran away. Okay, I was horrified. And the person that brought us meals were loving and patient. And they said, "Oh, don't worry, it's okay." I'm like, "Oh my goodness, it's so not okay." I was horrified, and they were very gracious. And the next day, I brought out all of the toy food, and we started practicing 5 minutes at a time, where we would practice getting meals that we did not think were awesome, and we would practice how to respond. So I would say, "Oh, here's your very favorite meal." And they would practice, "Oh, thank you so much." And then I would say, "Here's a plate of really stinky, yucky fish." And they would say, "Thank you for bringing us food." Training up character takes time, and it takes creativity. So think of something that your child is struggling with right now. Maybe it's honesty. And so practice, or maybe it's grumpiness. Grumpiness is something that is trainable. It's something that we can improve. So you sit around in a circle and you have all of the kids practice being really super grumpy, and they give you their worst scowl, and they roll their eyes, and they use their worst complaining voices. And then you say, "Okay, now let's do it with the teeny tiny voices, like we were mystical fairies in a lost forest." And they'll go along and they'll make these noises, these complaining noises, but as fairies. And now you can say, "Now let's complain as dinosaurs or dogs." And then they'll do those voices. And then you practice, okay, now how can we do it the right way? Your kids are brilliant. They're going to tell you this is how you do it the right way. And so you practice every day. And then very quickly you teach your kids, this is a magic. You practice this one starting today, sometime today or tomorrow. Teach your kids this, the do-over. Practice doing something wrong and telling them, okay, whenever we do something wrong, whether it's we make a mistake or we don't act in a way that is in line with what our family expects, I'm going to say the words "do over." And what we do is we're going to back up and then do it again. So for instance, let's practice. Mommy's going to ask you to take out the trash. And I want you to whine and complain. So, okay, ready? "Kids, can you please take out the trash?" And then they whine and complain. And then you go, okay, so this is where I'm going to say the secret words. I'm going to say, "Do over." And everybody go back to what they were doing. And I'm going to call you again. "Kids, can you please take out the trash?" And then they come running. "Yes, Mommy." And they take out the trash. Whatever it is, have your kids know this term is a term of grace. Teach them how to do something right. And then this phrase "do over" is an opportunity for them to try again with dignity. And it works with everything. With "it's time to go, please put your shoes on, can you please feed the dog, will you please read to your little sister, please come help me make dinner." Whatever it is that you're asking your kids to do, teach them this phrase "do over." So never ever pass up the opportunity to focus on and to discuss matters of the heart. As your kids get older, this becomes super inconvenient. Oh my goodness, do kids love to talk about important things at like 10 o'clock at night? It's like, I want to sleep at 10 o'clock at night, but never pass up the opportunity to discuss matters of the heart. Whenever your child feels safe enough to open up, that's the moment, Mama, and they need to know that you're there for them. And then train up character, set up time that you can be practicing the things that you want them to know. And remember that everything that you do, this section right here, where you're focusing on matters of the heart and training character, love, and family, all of these come before schoolwork. At the end of the day, you can teach your child all that stuff up at the top. Man, I remember one year we had really neglected science. And for whatever reason, we just didn't get to science. We got to everything else. Maybe it's because I love to read, or we love to do read alouds or something. But I remember getting to the end of the school year and realizing that we hadn't done any science. So I sat with my son, I guess it was my second son, and I said, dude, we need to do some catch up here because you're getting ready. We, at that time, were at a co-op school, and he needed to take a science test at the end of the year. Now, your kids may or may not test, and that's okay, but this is what we did. I sat down and I said, for the next 6 weeks, we're going to do power science, and we're going to go through science, ideas, and topics, and we're going to do a quick study of these things. Are you in? He's like, yeah, I'm in. And we focused on all of the things that he needed to learn in science that year. And you know what? Because his attitude was right, and because he was the type of person that knew that if he would focus, we would get it done. In the end of those few weeks, he not only learned everything that he needed to know in science, but had identified the areas that he wanted to study more and deeper. And so the reason that you focus on character and put family first is because it unlocks your kids' abilities to work hard and to dig in deeper as they get older. One of the things as my kids got older that I taught them, my husband and I taught them, is especially when they merged into the college years, is that they needed to become expert help seekers. And so that's something that we modeled, that look, wherever you are in life, there's going to be somebody that has the answers to what it is you're looking for. And so a character quality is to be teachable. And we really worked on teaching our kids that it was okay to ask questions and to be discerning with who was it that they were going to be asking the questions of. So when we'd go to the grocery store, I would have my kids ask people in the store, where can they find things? Now that seems simple, but just the idea of asking questions is sometimes a hurdle for some kids to get over. And so we constantly were looking for ways to train in what we wanted our kids to do at the end of the day, at the end of our homeschool career. So here we are, we're almost at the end of our coloring time. We're almost ready for our giveaway. And I want you to take note of how you're feeling right now. Can you see the magic? Just got a couple more little hearts in here. Can you see the magic of leaning in and focusing on your family? Oh, we're not neglecting the basics of academics. We're still teaching our kids the basics: reading, writing, arithmetic, history, science, etc. But we're focusing on this side of educating our kids. We're focusing on reading, exploring, and resting. We're focusing on finding what makes our kids' hearts beat just a little bit faster. And then we're leaning into that. And we're looking for ways to bring it into their hands or bring it to life by addressing different subjects together all at the same time. We're hiding curriculum that's simply not working, and recognizing that as homeschoolers, it doesn't have to look like a classroom, and that's okay. We're modeling what it looks like to learn ourselves, and we are leaning in and having fun, smiling, showing our kids what joy looks like. Joy is something that you can see. It's not, you can't say, I'm joyful with a pouty face, like the pout fish with the pout face. Our kids need to see us laugh. They need to see us play. We've leaned in to our kids, really opening up opportunities to allow them to express what it is they're thinking. I have all boys, and this discussing matters of the heart for us always happened in the car. I think it was because a shoulder-to-shoulder conversation was easier than eyeball-to-eyeball conversation. but be open to what your kids need so that they can tell you what their hopes and their dreams and their fears are, and that you can help them guide and navigate. We also are focusing on character and raising up the kind of kids that we are excited to release into public, because they're going to do the things that they are destined to do in life, and they're going to do it with excitement and a twinkle in their eye. And we're not going to lose the love in our family just because we got some schoolwork done, right? So this is the Homeschool Success Plan. This type of thinking, this type of teaching can literally guide and direct you through your entire homeschool journey. And I hope that you had fun. So I would love to see your homeschool success plan. I'd love to know what you think about this. I'd love to know, when I first did my original plan, I first sketched it, then I traced the letters in black, and then I began to color it. And I found that by the time I got to this part of the page, that my breathing slowed down and I was relaxing, because this is why we homeschool. We homeschool so that we don't lose our kids' hearts. We homeschool because we want our family to be connected and close, and because we want love to be at the center of everything that we do. And so I'm hoping that you found the same experience when you are coloring. And this is only the first of these type of events. So in the comments below, let me know what you think. Let me know which part stands out the most for you. And let me see my notes, making sure that I did everything. Oh, it's time for our giveaway. So I have a group called Homeschooling with Secret Sauce. It is a membership group, and it is magical. We have magical resources. We have things that come to them in the mail. We do behind the scenes type things where only they get to see things in action behind the scenes. They also get early access. This is my newest product that is coming out soon, and it is Secret Sauce, which is a way to take anything that you're teaching and to turn it into hands-on magic. Oh, look, they're even upside down, so you can't really read them very well. All kinds of magic and amazing things. But also in there, I love to give my people amazing prizes just for being part of the community. So the link, I have 3 laptops to give away in this wave of giveaways. You have to be a Secret Sauce mama or family in order to be eligible. So the very first giveaway is happening right now, and it is this hand-me-down laptop from one of my kids. It is the perfect little starter laptop for homeschool. It is connected simply online, so everything's done in the cloud. It totally works. I'm getting ready to clean it up and so that I can give it to whoever is about to win it. And I do have 2 other laptops to give away. One is going to be given away in June of 2022. The next one is going to be given away in July of 2022. So if you want to check out Homeschooling with Secret Sauce, the details are in the description. But ready? Drum roll. I have all the names of the families that are represented right now inside Homeschooling with Secret Sauce in this little cup. I'm going to shake them, make sure that they get all mixed up. Then I'm going to close my, actually I'm going to dump them on the page, and I'm going to randomly pick one. And the winner of the first laptop is Kim. Kim, I'm going to be reaching out to you via email and getting your laptop to you soon once I get it all cleaned up and wiped out. And that is it. So thank you for joining me with Color With Me while we did our Homeschool Success Plan. All the details for everything that we shared are in the descriptions, and I hope to see you soon. And if you've gotten this far through the video, please like and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the events that we're doing in the future. If you have any questions, you can comment below, or you can reach me at abetterwaytohomeschool@gmail.com. This is Becky with Homeschooling with Secret Sauce and A Better Way to Homeschool, and I will catch you in the next video.